Well, glory be, mercy me, we've done it yet again. Here we are, walked through the graveyard. Hey, did you guys know? I just found this out. The World Bank released a report saying Cuba has more doctors than Canada does. Not only does Cuba have more doctors per capita, so for every 1,000 citizens in Cuba, there are 8.4 doctors. Well, here in Canada, right, for every 1,000 citizens, we have 2.4 doctors. This is according to the World Bank. You do a little bit of math, a little bit of like, and you find out, oh snap, Cuba has more doctors not only per capita, right, but more doctors total than Canada has, right? Canada has 3 times the population, is allied to the largest economy on the planet. Well, second largest now, thanks China. Haha. And we don't have doctors. We don't have doctors. We have 3 times the population, and we have less doctors than the island nation of Cuba, which is undergoing a sanction regime from the United States, and by the way, also is a communist nation. Shouldn't that mean that they're living in despair and everything's so horrible for them? All of the right intellectuals keep saying that communism fails. Every time it's been tried, it's a total failure. It completely fails every single fucking time it tries. Yeah, you just need to take a look at it. Well, here's Cuba, the communist island nation undergoing sanctions from an enormous economy that has enormous military power and the desire to stamp out communism. More doctors than we do. And of course, it isn't just that Cuba has decided to educate its people and actually create doctors and have a strong medical community and actually, give a shit about its citizens. That's not the only thing that's going on. It's also that the capitalist death cult, which has taken over our society, is attempting at every angle to destroy our medical community. And it's attempting to destroy the medical community for very obvious reasons. It wants to privatize the system, right? So why would you encourage more doctors to get into the system? Why would you encourage a stronger, more resilient system? Why would you encourage more education, more people to be involved in the medical sciences and become doctors here in Canada, to join a system that you yourself, as the political class, as members of the capitalist death cult, are attempting to dismantle so that you can justify its privatization? This is the grift that's been going on between the Liberals and the Conservative Alliance for decades. Since the national healthcare system came into place, Conservatives and Liberals have been colluding with one another for a strategy on how to allow the populace to privatize the healthcare system, right? And the method is as clean as it can be, and I've said it over and over and over again on this channel, right? You cut services with conservatives, which is unpopular, so the conservatives get out. The liberals maintain those cuts. They don't claw them back. They don't improve the service. They don't do anything, right? They maintain it where it is until eventually they lose power. The conservative comes in, and what do? They cut, right? And then the liberal comes in, and they maintain that level of cuts. And so it's back down all the time, incrementally, slowly, over time. So slow that you don't even notice that it's happening unless you actually take the time and do an analysis and study the issue and look at what's going on. But it's obvious and overt at this point. So obvious and so overt that we're being defeated, we're being outshone by island nations with 1/3 of our population who are undergoing economic sanctions, for God's sakes. Like, that's how embarrassing Canada has become. That's how embarrassing the capitalist death cult has become. That they are being defeated by, independent rogue little nations that are communist. what this shows you is we could very easily have a more robust and more resilient healthcare system. We have the resources for it. If the Cubans have the resources for it, we have the resources for it. But instead of that, we have a shameful cult that is attacking healthcare professionals and the healthcare industry amidst a global pandemic. Here in Ontario, Doug Ford has actively pursued cuts where the doctors and nurses are publishing open public letters to the Ford administration, begging him to undo these cuts that he has inflicted on the system, because they know that it's going to mean less nurses, they know it's going to mean less doctors, but they refuse to actually state what is obvious, which is that's the point. Because once the system gets weak enough, once the system is in collapse, the population will shrug its shoulders and allow the system to be privatized. That's what's coming, that's the attack, and both the conservatives and the liberals are in on the game. If the liberals weren't in the game, they would be increasing funding, right? But they don't. They don't, right? Outside of some like small, tiny little piecemeal reformism to get the peasants to shut up. This total embarrassment that the capitalist death cult is putting at our feet. Oh, and incidentally, the NDP are just a new form of liberals, right? They don't actually care about this stuff. They're not going to get into power and actually like make things better either. So what's the solution for us, right? Well, the solution at this stage in the game is to surround the halls of power. The game is over, right? The abandonment is writ. They are going to attempt to privatize, I shouldn't say attempt, they are going to privatize these systems. They are going to work against the populace. They are going to do these things, and eventually they will do them completely mask off without any pretense of actual participation by the populace. You understand? That eventually there comes a point where the death cult will just say, yeah, we're privatizing that, what are you going to do about it? And the rubes in the populace, right, the naive and the gullible, will say, well, then I'll vote for some other party. And then they'll go and they'll vote. And what will that party do? The same. Why? Because we have billionaires in our society now. We don't have alternative power structures anymore. Those alternative power structures have been co-opted by a rapacious, psychopathic, billionaire capitalist death cult. We have no alternatives anymore. Now is the time to organize in order to surround the halls of power. Because these politicians, these elected officials, are not going to rationally respond unless there is an actual existential threat. And that existential threat is not an act of violence. It is not a coup attempt. It is to surround the halls of power and begin redrawing the Constitution outside and directly in front of them and declare their structures illegitimate. We are but serfs to a billionaire death cult. Their systems are illegitimate, and we need to declare them as such. They will never work for us again. That day has come. It is over. Now is the time to rebuild a new society from the ashes of the old. All right, if you've made it to this point, guys, like, share, subscribe. YouTube doesn't share my videos, right? So if you don't share it, no one sees it. Be sure to subscribe. I'm almost at that 1,000 mark, which is a major threshold for this channel. Please think about donating $1 to my Patreon. If you don't support leftist voices, then the only people in the conversation are your hacks like Jordan Peterson, right? Like that we actually do need leftists in the conversation, or else everything is just fascist conservatives and liberals, which is kind of like an incestuous orgy. Always remember, guys, you are a quantum being. walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hope that you won't realize it. Don't let them. Revolt, rebel, repent. Good luck. We're gonna need it.